Good afternoon, everybody.
Yeah, afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Marcus and Rita.
Yeah, well done. Okay,
Yes.
Senator has not joined yet.
Okay, Mr. Max has joined. Hello. Hello, good afternoon, Mr. Max. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, hope I'm clear. Good to go.
Yes, very clear. How are you, sir?
Fine, thank you. And you?
Okay, I'm very well.
Yeah, well done.
It's a good opportunity having you.
Yeah, thank you.
Session today.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a privilege.
So I think we have two attendees.
What?
We have two attendees at the moment.
Okay.
You want us to wait a little bit for.
I'm sure if we give it, maybe we'll start by 5 minutes past 3. That would be good.
All right.
That just gives time for people to come in and settle in properly.
It's okay. Thank you. I'm trying to work on Good afternoon, Senator. Can you hear me, sir? Good afternoon, sir. everyone. Good afternoon. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can. We can hear you.
So we have like 5 people now, Mr. Max.
Please carry on. Let's get started.
Oh, okay. So I'm sorry about my camera. I'm still working on it. I don't know what is happening. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Funke Generala. I'm the training manager at TSQ Trainings Limited. And we appreciate your time being part of today's webinar. So I just want to run through an introduction of what our company stands for and what we do. So at ESQ, we provide comprehensive continuous professional learning with courses and training across various areas of practice. So for today's webinar, we have tagged it launch our webinar series as they are slated for every Tuesday and Thursdays every week, 3 p.m. So after this section, we'll provide resources for attendees, and we are also streaming live on YouTube and Facebook. So for today's topic, we have, today's topic is blockchain and entertainment, analyzing the legal and commercial issue. And for this topic, we are having 2 speakers who will be giving us more enlightenment about the chosen topic for today. So first, we have Mr. Max, which is the principal partner at Everlaw Associates. We'll be speaking on blockchain technology and intellectual property infringements in entertainment industry. And our second speaker for today will be Senator Ihe. I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce that well. Is lead partner at Infusion Lawyer. We'll be speaking on Nfcs, the entertainment industry and its future. So I'd like to make welcome Mr. Mars. You can take the floor, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me to speak this afternoon. And let me acknowledge the presence of my brother, Senator Henyen, the only legitimate senator who is not sitting yet in the chamber in Abuja, even though we hope you'll be getting there soon. And of course, I acknowledge all the.
Hopefully, very soon.
Yeah, I acknowledge all the attendees.
Much,
yeah, Senator, good to hear from you again after so long a while.
Same here, same here.
Yeah, and I thank all the attendees. I can see the room is quickly getting filling up. So I'll just move quickly. My hope is that we'll have more of an interactive section. So I have slides, but I won't take too long on the slides. And I hope we'll get a lot of questions, perspectives, and then we could take the discussions deeper. So permit me to start off by sharing my slides. Okay. Hope you can see my slides now.
Yes, sir, we can see your slide.
Okay, excellent. Yeah. Okay, so by way of brief outline, like I said, I won't spend too much time on my slides. I'm hoping we'll make it more interactive. So we'll be looking at what is blockchain, just a very basic, high level look at what blockchain is, just so that it helps us see why blockchain ties into what we'll be discussing today, and what is IP, that's intellectual property, and then the different types of IP. Again, like I said, we just be broad, high level and touch on each of the different types of IP rights. Then we'll look at the entertainment industry and then the new online business models that is characterizing the entertainment industry at the moment. And then we'll look at how blockchain technology can stem the tide of IP infringement in the entertainment industry. And of course, we expect that by the second section, Senator will take us deeper into some of the use cases where blockchain technology has found a space in the entertainment industry. So what is blockchain technology? Blockchain technology, otherwise known as distributed ledger technology, it makes the history of digital assets unalterable and transparent using through the use of decentralization and cryptographic hashing. So these are a lot of words. So I'll just try to unpack them. So first of all, we say the history of digital assets. So when we say digital assets, it's a catch-all phrase for a lot of things, but essentially means data that is stored in digital form. So a digital asset could be anything. Of course, one obvious example would be cryptocurrency. So digital asset in that sense refers to financial transactions, a record of financial transactions. So equally, digital assets could also be a record of ownership of entertainment items like the copyright over music and any other thing. So digital asset actually could be any asset, anything at all that you could store in any kind of data you can store in digital form. Then we say it makes the history of that digital asset unalterable, and it does this through cryptographic hashing and decentralization. So when we say that, of course, there's always a lot of back and forth when it comes to blockchain technology or what people think it is, or people start saying things like it's completely foolproof and it can't be hacked. Well, it's not exactly that way, because so far as theoretically anything on the face of the earth is concerned, you really cannot put 100% value to say this technology is completely unalterable. But what simply happens is that the way the blockchain technology is set up through the two things we have mentioned, cryptographic hashing and decentralization, makes it almost impossible. And the next slide is going to talk a little bit more about cryptography and hashing. But what it does is that it makes it almost impossible for you to be able to alter a record. So simple example I can give that makes it easy to understand is when it comes to your bank records now, the fact that your bank balance was 1 million naira, you transfer 100,000 to someone, you transfer 200,000 to someone else, and someone else transfers 500,000 to you. Now, the ledger, that is the record of transactions on your bank balance, is kept by your bank in a central server or a central record that is controlled by the bank. So it therefore means that if I'm able to get access to your bank, maybe by hacking the computers, or for some reason I physically take over the bank and I'm able to get into that central server, I can alter the ledger. I can wipe out, for instance, a transaction, for the 500,000 that was transferred to you, and then that alters the record of your bank, your bank statement. But what we are seeing is that when it comes to blockchain technology, why we have so much assurance that this cannot be done is that there's no central record of that ledger. So there's not one person keeping a record of all the transactions that if you're able to successfully hack his computer, you can change records. Because in blockchain technology, what happens is that every, what we call nodes, those are different systems or computers connected to that blockchain network, keep a copy of the records. And through the cryptographic hashing, each node verifies transactions. So if there's a problem, if somebody is able to hack one of the computers, the other computers on the network are able to flag immediately and show that there has been a tampering with the records that's coming from this node or this computer on the system. So what that does is that gives assurance that to be able to alter the records, you are going to have to attack and at least get more than 51% of the nodes or the players connected to that network to be able to change the record. And then when we look at cryptography and the hashing, it actually multiplies the effort you have to take to be able to do a successful takeover. So it gets to a point where not that it's impossible, but it is unrealistic that you'll be able to get that kind of power to be able to alter the record. So that's what it's all about. So it's about ensuring that you have records that are secure and are not you can't alter. So it brings an element into transaction management where without having to trust any party now, the system itself has built a layer of trust within itself as well. So as we talk more, I'm sure I'll be able to break down these topics, these high-level things a little bit more. So essentially, blockchain is blocks of data. So that means data, or information wrapped up into blocks that are cryptographically encoded. I'll talk about cryptography in the next slide, using a hash function, which I'll also describe. And then they are connected to each other so that each succeeding block in that chain contains all the information that the previous block had. So that if you tamper with any of the blocks in that chain, if you tamper with any of the blocks, in that system, the other blocks are able to flag immediately that no, there's something wrong with this particular block. The information in it is not corresponding to what was in the former blocks and what is in the succeeding blocks. So let's look at the next slide. I hope it will break it down a little bit more. So in simple terms, what we call hashing, in computer terms, simply means taking any string, any input of a string of any length, that's data of any length. So and giving out a fixed length. So when it comes to hashing, for instance, in the context of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, sorry, I'll explain this a little bit more. Transactions are taken as an input. So that means a transaction could be anything. Transaction could be the records of who I transferred money to last and who transferred money to me, including the person's identity, but identity not in the sense of his name. Now it could be his wallet, his wallet address, and such other information. And then it runs it through a hashing algorithm. That's essentially a program that converts that information into what we want to call a hash. So a hash, when you look at it, actually looks like a meaningless jumble of numbers and alphabets. But what is unique about the hashing function is that no matter how long that information is, it converts it into the same length of data. So for instance, the case of the Bitcoin blockchain, this is what we call the SHA-256. So what it does is that no matter how long the information is, it converts it into a string of words and letters that are exactly 256 characters. So it means that even if you take a whole library of books and run it through that algorithm, run it through that program, the output you will get to be 256 characters. Even if you take just the single word hi, you still get the same length of characters at the end of the day. So at the bottom of my slide, you can see an example. Hi, for instance, is that long line of text and of letters and alphabets you are seeing. Welcome, which is different, also comes to the same. So even if you take a whole library of words, I'm saying you take a whole library of books, maybe Nigerian law reports, and you run it through the algorithm, what you are going to get out to be a hash that is 256 characters in length. And the hash does not change. So in the context of, for instance, the Bitcoin blockchain, what it simply does is that all the information, it converts it into a hash. When there's a new transaction, that transaction is added to the old hash, converted into a new hash, and then it forms the next block. So each block is always characters that are in length 256, and they are unique. So if anything tampers with any of that hash, automatically the system will flag it up immediately and show that there's been some alteration done to this that is not authorized. So that way, it means that for a person to be able to take over the system, like I say, he's going to need a lot of computer power. He's going to need to overpower all, a majority of the players on that blockchain, which is practically impossible, as it were. So that's where the security that blockchain technology provide comes from. So as you can see with this, now it means that works of copyright, for instance, music, artistic works and all can all be created and put on the blockchain. Like Senator will be telling us more about NFTs, and we'll see how blockchain technology enables us to have NFTs that would give a record that nobody can tamper with, and that record can be trusted. So move on to intellectual property and what are the types of intellectual property. So intellectual property, just by way of definition, I took this from Professor Adejoke Oyewumi of the Faculty of Law in Ilag. So IP, are legal rights conferred on those who engage in creative, inventive, and promotional activities which have resulted in original, useful, or other beneficial output. So what we're simply saying here is that as opposed to regular property, so if I own a laptop or I own a phone, that's physical property I own. I own it because it's with me. I can take physical possession of it. But yeah, there are some other kinds of property we have, that you cannot exactly hold with your hand. So for instance, my law firm is called Ever Law Associates. And if you look at the top of my slide, there's a logo there that signifies my law firm. So that logo in a sense is not, the right that attached to it, the fact that people recognize it and able to know that, okay, if I see this logo or if I see this name, I'm dealing with someone from this law firm. It itself not property I can hold with my hands. But if we have provided a good quality of service over time, then people associate us with a certain quality of service. Now, that itself is a property, that goodwill, that fact that people expect a good quality of work from us becomes in itself, a type of property I have because I can derive and enjoy benefits from it. It's of value. If anybody can take that name or that goodwill, then they are able to use it to make money from people. So you could see that it's not physical. That goodwill is not something tangible. Hold it, but at the same time, it's able to produce value. So that's what intellectual property essentially talks about. So we say, they are intangibles or incorporeal in nature. So incorporeal just simply means that it's not tangible. You can hold with your hands. And by conferring exclusive rights, and entitle the owner to recover from anyone who uses who exploits authorization. So exclusive rights simply means that it gives me that right, and I alone can use that right. So any other person who wants to use that right need to pay me, or at least exchange some sort of value to be able to use that right. So I mean, if you want to listen, new song released by Davido, for instance, now then you have to subscribe to maybe some online platform where you pay subscription fee, and then you get some money for that. So you see, you are enjoying his music. It's not the music itself is not something you can, in a sense, hold with your hands. But you can't just take the music and try to distribute it on maybe your class WhatsApp forum and then get people to pay you for doing that. You'd be infringing on his rights. And as we go along, we'll see more ways IP is protected and how you can assert your exclusive rights. So what are the different types of IP? I mean, when I mentioned IP, it's a catch-all. It's quite a huge area, but then IP has different categories of IP. So the first, of course, is copyright. So just to help us also get some context, when it comes to intellectual property, there's a lot of argument about the word intellectual property itself, because it encompasses a lot of things, just like some of what we have on the screen now: copyright, trademark, patents, and industrial designs. But some people prefer to create a demarcation between what we call intellectual property, which in a sense only applies to copyright, and what we call industrial property. So industrial property would be IP rights in this context that are more suited towards what people use within industrial applications. So that would include trademarks, patents, and industrial designs. So looking at them in specific details now, copyright. Copyright is a right in an original work of authorship. So when we say a work of authorship, this could include a lot of things: music, literary works like writing a book. Other common things like computer software is also considered to be a work of authorship. So things like architectural works, pictures, sculptures, broadcast, that would include broadcast, things you broadcast over the broadcast media, then videos as well, and such other items. So what the law protects is when you have authored that work and you have fixed it. Fixation also means that you have put it in a tangible medium. So it could be, I have an idea for a book and I write it on paper. That becomes, I've expressed it on a tangible medium. So once I've given that expression to the work, what the law protects actually is the fact that I've expressed myself. It doesn't protect the idea behind the book I've written or the idea behind the song, but the expression, how I put the song together, the melody, the beats, the flow, and all of that. That's what is protected. So it gives me the exclusive right. Nobody else can take that work and exploit it in terms of reproducing it, making a copy of it, adapting it, so translating it from English language to French language and selling, or reproducing it in any other form. If you do that, then you'll be infringing on my exclusive rights to the work. Then trademark. This consists of recognizable signs. So signs here is a broad range of things. It could be a logo, it could be a name, it could be a character, it could be anything at all that is recognizable, that identifies the products or services from a particular source and distinguishes them from others. So my logo, for instance, distinguishes the fact that you see a letterheaded paper that carries my logo, already should mean that this legal advice or this legal opinion is coming from Evala Associates and not from another law firm. So it distinguishes the goods of one enterprise from that of another. So it could be anything like a logo. So if you look at the swash mark on a sneakers, you immediately know, okay, this is coming from Nike, and you expect a certain level of quality when because you know the company it's coming from. Then patents essentially is a monopoly granted by the government for an invention. So what is an invention? An invention is a new or an improved solution to a technical challenge. So it could be anything that improves the state of art or the level of knowledge and technology in a certain area. But of course, patents could apply in a lot of areas. There's a lot of doubt, for instance, and it's been back and forth in the US. There's what we call business method patents. So if somebody is able to, for instance, formulate a new way to offer insurance services, it used to be possible at the point for the person to get a patent. There's a lot of back and forth, on that area, but some jurisdictions allow you to do that. So it's possible, for instance, in the entertainment industry to say, I have a unique style of monetizing my entertainment works, and therefore I can get a patent to it. But however, areas where patent will be applicable without controversy in the entertainment industry will involve new ways, for instance, of arranging music, new ways of creating digital sounds, for instance, would definitely be amenable to being protected by patent. Then industrial design. Industrial design essentially protects the unique aesthetic, that's the visual aspects of an item that attracts the consumer. So what it protects different from trademark. Trademark, remember, is a sign that differentiates between the services or goods of one enterprise from that of another. But industrial design talks about the aesthetic. What is that aesthetic part of it? Not a functional part. If it's a functional part, then that will be protected by patents. But if it's just a part that just gives beauty to it, that makes it attractive to the eyes, that is what industrial design protects, to ensure that nobody's able to use that unique, eye-catching feature that you're putting in your product and deploy it to his own product. So there's a lot of, there are areas where these different rights actually intersect with each other. So there's an area where, for instance, if you have done a sculpture and that sculpture is now used to reproduce many other sculptures, then at that point, under Nigerian law, you no longer can protect that sculpture as copyright, even though the sculpture originally is copyright. But the moment you mass produce it, use it as a model to mass produce, then at that point, you can only protect it as an industrial design. Same way also that sometimes product packaging can start off as industrial designs. But as that product packaging becomes uniquely attached and known with your products, you can go ahead and protect it as a trademark. Why is this important? You can start up with an industrial design. You only have 15 years under law that you have that protection by industrial designs. But for trademarks, you can protect your trademarks perpetually, forever. It lasts for 7 years in the first instance, and thereafter you can renew it non-stop for 14-year periods. So it would be a wise business model to start up by protecting with industrial designs. And when that packaging has gained distinctiveness, it has become something that the market identifies uniquely with your products, you can protect it with trademarks and keep that protection perpetually, for forever and ever. So that would be a useful strategy to protecting your brand. I'm sorry. Okay, and then of course there are other non-traditional aspects. I won't dwell too much on them, but they include trade secrets and also passing off. So these are other ways to protect your intellectual property right that are not exactly formally registered, but you have some measure of protection, but they are usually not the best because they might not give you full coverage. So I see my time is fast running out, so I'll just speed on. So of course, the entertainment industry is largely moving on to online business models. But what's entertainment? Entertainment is a huge catch-all. I mean, it's any form of activity that holds the attention and interest of an audience or gives pleasure and delight. So it covers a wide range: music, sports, arts, films, broadcast, and media. And of course, we know social media currently is a huge aspect of media. So these are all, subsets of the entertainment industry. So the entertainment industry, of course, offers largely intangible bundle of products, because when you go to watch a play or watch a movie, what you get out of it is actually a service. It's not tangible. So you could see that without IP protection, it will be difficult for people in the entertainment industry to monetize their business model. So that's why IP is hugely important when it comes to the entertainment industry. So of course, because the entertainment industry has largely pivoted and moved on to online models, so things like digital piracy has become a huge topic at the moment. Because you have to protect your entertainment assets when they go online. So I mean, Senator is going to tell us more about NFTs, which is a revolutionary business model built essentially on the intersection between blockchain technology and entertainment. So how can blockchain technology stem the tide of IP infringement in the entertainment industry? So like we said at the beginning, blockchain technology is primed for record keeping. So it helps you to keep track of transactions. So that's one useful thing that, the entertainment industry needs. So, and it helps you to, and also it could be used as a basis to transparently distribute revenue streams that come out of those entertainment products. So, I mean, at the moment, for instance, if you release your music, you are depending on the fact that, I mean, let's say using the old traditional models where a record label produces CDs of your music and goes ahead to sell them. So the only way you as an artist would know how much of your albums have been sold is the records essentially kept by the record label and what they give to you. So for instance, if you remember during there was a time that the US was having some spat with Russia and North Korea. I believe it was North Korea, sorry, and Donald Trump was having some trouble with North Korea. And some North Korean hackers hacked was Sony Pictures and released some of their movies that was yet in the works. So you could imagine how much Sony Pictures lost from that early release of their song. So I'm just saying, looking at that model now, it means that if I released my song on a record label and I don't have to rely on their record, simply means that, look, release my music on the blockchain. There's a transparent record that shows me how many people have viewed, and then automatically with that with that transparent record, you can write what we call a smart contract on that record. So automatically, as people subscribe and pay to listen to my music or watch my movie on Netflix, automatically the blockchain keeps a transparent record and it's automatically transferring my own share of the revenue to me and transferring the share of the revenue of the record label to them using, as it were, a smart contract. So these are, of course, very futuristic use cases. I mean, it's not exactly yet realistic to use those models. So another place where this could come in is what we call collective management. So rather than all artists running after the different radio stations that play their music, the hotels that play their music, the airlines, and other establishments that use their music, artists come together under what we call collective management organizations. So we know some of them, Music Copyright Society of Nigeria, for instance, or well, we know there's a lot of controversy on COSON, which is a topic for another day. But essentially, what we are saying is that imagine in collective management, part of the problem artists have is that this collective management, collects royalties on our music, but they don't distribute it to us, or we don't have a fair template to really understand how they've shared this money to us. So imagine if those collective societies could operate as what we call a DAO. That's a DAO is distributed autonomous organization. So essentially, this is essentially, in a sense, like a blockchain, but notionally means an organization that has no central control. So there's no central person regulating it, but the system itself is set up to automatically, autonomously audit itself. So everybody who joins, or every artist who joins that DAO, which operates as a collective society, can see a transparent record of how many times his music was listened to, and is able to automatically, using a smart contract, get his own share of the revenue. Like I said, these things are highly theoretic, but it's notionally possible that the time could come where technology could solve that problem of all the infighting we see in the collecting societies. So, of course, also another thing that could be used, is to checkmate digital piracy. So NFT, which is what Senator will be taking us on, is a revolutionary way that that blockchain technology can be used to ensure that people are not losing revenue to digital pirates. So that is all for my presentation. I would expect questions and robust interactions. Thank you very much. So back to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Max. We really appreciate the time, your explanation so far. And I also want to mention, I skipped that at the beginning of the webinar, that if our attendees have one question or the other, please don't hesitate to go to the Q&A session to just drop your questions, which will be attended to by our speakers as we go on. So now we'll give Senator the floor to give us more insight about his own topic. Senator, it's over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I will share my screen so that I start immediately. So my name is Senator E. Henyen. I am lead partner at Infusion Lawyers, and I'm particularly happy to be here to talk about NFTs in the entertainment sector. As we all know, the entertainment sector is a sector that continues to grow pretty fast. And just as that sector is growing, what we've also found is that there are emerging technologies that have been coming along with it. And compared to other sectors of the economy, the entertainment sector is usually that sector that catches up with a technology faster than most other sectors. We've seen this happen over and over again. And so we should not be very surprised today when I begin to share those things that that the entertainment sector has quickly caught up with in very little time, even while policy and regulation is still way behind. And when other sectors like agriculture, shipping, and all of that, and perhaps even the legal industry and justice industry is still trying to catch up as well. Trying to bring my, can anyone see my screen yet?
Not yet, sir.
Okay, okay. Just a moment, please. All right, that's it. It's loading now. Please let me know when you see my screen.
Sure, I will.
Confirm.
Not yet.
Can you see my screen now?
Not yet, not yet.
Oh, interesting.
Okay, perfect.
Did you say yes?
Yes, we can see it now.
Oh, great, great, great. Thank you very much. So, the NFT space, when we talk about NFTs, I have to first of all thank Max for that very fine introduction of blockchain as well as intellectual property. Because when it comes to NFTs, the non-fungible tokens, blockchain and intellectual property play a very big roles in that aspect. Quickly, because we don't have much time, I'll be looking at what NFTs are and their use cases generally, and then we quickly move into the NFTs application in the entertainment industry and conclude very quickly. What is an NFT? So a lot of people have various and different understanding of what an NFT is. An NFT is non-fungible token. And the best way to understand what that means is to look at NFTs in contrast to fungible tokens. What are fungible tokens or anything fungible at all? Right. So if you are very familiar with Bitcoin or Ethereum or other cryptocurrencies, they are fungible. They are fungible because they can be replaced. There's nothing unique about the Bitcoin you are holding and the Bitcoin I'm holding. The same way the Naira currency, the dollar currency, the Euro currency is fungible, because if you have 1 Naira or $1 and I have $1 or 1 Naira, I can easily replace what you have with what I've got, because it's the same value, it's the same property. Now, NFTs don't work that way, and that's why they are called non-fungible. They are unique, they are non-intangible, and they are irreplaceable. Now, when you have something like that, you begin to think about the possibilities that that can create for you, especially in a space like the entertainment sector, where the ability of the internet to enable people duplicate property is pretty easy. So if I join a WhatsApp group called Esquire WhatsApp group, and I share a photo in that WhatsApp group, everyone can download that photo, whether it's JPEG or GIF or PNG, other formats of photos. Now, I still have that photo with me. And so no one really would know who the original owner of that photo is. As a matter of fact, I could have downloaded that photo somewhere and then shared it everywhere as mine. Now, that is why everyone says that internet has become the hotbed of intellectual property infringement, especially copyrights, because everything is replaceable. There is nothing unique about what you are holding and what I am holding. Also, when you send something over the blockchain today, such as Bitcoin, right? It is very different from how the Naira operates, for instance. And I like the fact that Max already touched on this in terms of how blockchain technology is used to, is used as a decentralized or distributed technology to enable or create value. We aren't wasting much time. We're looking at NFTs as unique and non-intangible digital assets that exist on the blockchain. Please, let's not forget that. It must exist on the blockchain. If it doesn't exist on the blockchain, it's not an NFT. So perhaps you guys have been watching or seeing the news, and you've been hearing a lot of stuff about how NFTs are being ridiculously sold at amounts you never imagined before the evolution of NFTs. I have here a selection of 5 NFTs in the space, the biggest NFTs in terms of how expensive they were. The most expensive one is Pax, the merge. It was sold $91 million. You heard that right, $91 million. This photo you're seeing here. Now, if you download this photo as PNG, JPEG, of course, you can share with everyone. But what makes it unique when you bring it to the blockchain is that it becomes non-fungible, meaning that the ownership in terms of the identity of the owner, the property of the image itself, the source, how it was created, when it was created, and all of that will be reduced into what is called metadata. And that metadata goes into the NFT. So it's not, while everyone can have a photo of this, just like I do now, the owner, the person who bought this photo, $91 million, has a unique identity or property or ownership on this that no one else in the world has. And so that is the idea of NFTs, in being able to make something irreplaceable or unique. The other one here is by Beeple. Every day is the first 5,000 days. Beeple is a very well-respected artist, digital artist. One day he woke up and said, what I'm going to do is to create a collage, a piece, all right, different pieces of all of my paintings on digital art over the years into one single art. And this is the result of that. So it's a collage of all of the works that people ever created. So this was created within 5,000 days, they said. And it was worth 69.3 million at the time it was sold. This is another one, 1,035. Just that picture is worth $52 million. It was created by a community that needed to raise funds for the founder of WikiLeaks to be taken out of prison. So they had to raise funds for the lawyers and every other person that would play in that whole thing. And at the end of the day, they raised $52 million. The person who bought this picture bought it and paid $52 million. Quickly, people and others, and most of you must have seen CryptoPunk. This one is really crazy. The way CryptoPunk works is that there are thousands of them. You must have seen some of them. This is the 5822, meaning number 5,822. And it sold $23 million. There are cousins, brothers, and sisters of this guy you're seeing here, and they are all worth a lot of money. Ridiculous? Maybe. Quickly, looking at the use cases of NFTs, non-fungible tokens, they digitally represent any assets. And when I talk about assets, it can be both tangible assets and intangible assets. Max Ikongwe has shown us how intangible assets work, especially when you leverage intellectual property to protect and monetize them in the entertainment industry. Here, understand that NFTs actually go beyond intangible assets. They also include tangible assets, such as your real estate or personal property, as a matter of fact. So it's a whole new ball game, because with NFTs, what you are able to do, because it relies on the blockchain, you can tokenize assets. What does tokenize mean? From the word tokenization, you are converting an asset into a digital property and trying to create digital rights over that asset. That's the idea of tokenization. So a tokenization process could involve an object that is already digital, such as if I'm a digital artist and I paint using Microsoft and all that software, I can easily tokenize my JPEG or PNG photo by using an NFT platform where I can mint, it's called mint, the way you also mint money. I can mint that image I've created as digital art, right? Now, you can also tokenize, real estates. Today, we talk about how blockchain technology has made it possible to fractionalize ownership of real estates. In other words, you can divide the value an entire property, such as, say, a property in Banana Island worth ₦1 billion. You can, rather than expecting one Dangote to buy that property, you can actually fractionalize it by digitizing that real estate, that Banana Island estate. When you tokenize it, you have converted it into some digital representation of the physical property. And at the end of the day, people are able to buy the parts they can buy at fractions. So you're not even looking at, if you guys know how cryptocurrencies work, you're not even looking at 1 naira or 1 cent or $1. You could actually have 0.00001 naira. That's how it works in the crypto space. So there's a whole lot that this is about. So you can see in the screen, if you look closely at the screen and the use cases, you find that a lot of it has a lot to do with entertainment. Talk about copyrights, artistic works, cinematographic works, literary works, sound recordings, and other intellectual property. They are mainly entertainment sector focused digital assets. All right. So also look at in-game assets. We will talk a bit about metaverse if the time permits us. So without wasting much time, just take note of the assets in terms of NFTs covering both tangible and intangible assets. Now, the features of NFTs with business benefits. Now, I've told you that NFTs rely on blockchain technology, and blockchain technology is all about decentralization, distribution, democratization. It's all about access to value or creation, transfer, storage of value without a third party or a central authority being involved. So it's usually peer-to-peer. So when you tokenize a real world tangible assets, you're making it easy to buy, sell, and trade in that assets as more of fact. Secondly, you are reducing fraud because you will have less agents. They won't be brokers and agents and professionals in the middle of the transaction. This time, you can take your property or assets straight to the buyers. And of course, that is the concept of crowdfunding, right? So when you think about NFTs in the space today, it's really about creating that open access, democratizing access to value in a way that the community can participate directly without the need for any middleman or third party. Apart from that, you're looking at a combination of digital representation of a physical assets and smart contracts. Max mentioned smart contracts earlier, and it is one of the reasons Max will live very, very long. When it comes to smart contracts, you are basically looking at pre-programmed instructions or pre-programmed terms and conditions, right? More like software, but they've been written into software, into a computer program. Now, NFTs will help creators and asset owners to combine the power of digital representation with smart contracts, because like Max was saying earlier, today we talk about copyrights, and Nigerian artists are getting very popular, but they are not necessarily getting very rich. That's because their works flow very easily, but the royalty never flows back. There's usually a problem of revenue. You can't get revenue back, and that's one of the issues that the internet has created. The internet 2.0, as we know it today. Now, with NFTs, we are moving towards internet 3.0, where properties and any income from such properties can actually be traced automatically using smart contracts. And I'm not talking about AI here. Artificial intelligence is very different from smart contracts. Smart contracts are dependent on the blockchain. Artificial intelligence has nothing to do with the blockchain. Of course, today we find developers who combine both just to get efficiency around stuff. I'll quickly move away from here. I already talked about the unique identifying characteristics of NFTs. And that is why a lot of people now say that NFTs can actually help with identity management. A big reason why NFTs can help intellectual property rights owners manage their copyrights, their trademarks, their patents, their industrial designs, even talk about geographical indications and other intellectual properties that are evolving today. With NFTs, you can take care of things around transparency. See how your work is moving from A to B, B to C. Secondly, there's traceability. You can actually also understand and automatically get any money or entitlements that are attached to those works of NFTs. So you see people getting very rich these days. It's easy because with NFTs, whatever value is created from an NFT comes back to you. This is not the era of JPEGs and GIFs. We're looking at advanced ER20 technology here, built on the blockchain. Having said a lot about NFTs and how they can help in the entertainment industry, let me give a good background in terms of the commercial worth of NFTs. In 2021 alone, last year, we had estimated $41 billion of NFTs that were sold. $41 billion last year alone. And if you're wondering how that happened, you'll be shocked to know that in 2020, just a year before 2021, the estimated worth of all of NFTs sold was not up to $500 million. That is a big jump. What that means is that we haven't even started yet. We're just scratching the surface. And that speaks to what Max was also saying, that it may be that some of the solutions we have today are still not in the markets, or they are still theoretical. The little ones we already have available are already creating very, very big value for both creators and owners of digital rights or assets. Look at the entertainment industry. You're looking at a worth of over $2.2 trillion. So if the entertainment industry is worth $2.2 trillion, and we already have last year NFT sales up to $41 billion, you need not ask me what can happen or what the possibilities are going forward from here. What I see happening is that we're going to see a combination of NFTs, the power of NFTs, the power of blockchain, and the power of intellectual property as intangible assets, helping creators and owners of IP to create new streams of income, create new markets, create new ways of distribution beyond the barriers that we see today in the traditional distribution system, or even in traditional royalty system when it comes to copyrights, right? So I'll quickly go through a list of what I think the business benefits would be, looking at it from the background of features of NFTs. I've said a lot about fractionalization of physical assets. It's a big opportunity because once you can fractionalize an asset, what it means that you are opening up that access to community participation, engagements, funding as well can come out of that. So we all understand that it's pretty expensive. It's very capital intensive to go into production of movies and all of that these days. Now, rather than looking for that producer who will have to, whom you might have to compromise a lot of your intellectual property for just because you don't have that income to fund your project. With NFTs, you can actually fractionalize, production of that movie or music in a way that you still are able to control, have artistic control over your style, your work, the way it's distributed, your target markets, and all of that. Fractionalization is very big. NFTs will also transform the way films are made, the way they are produced, the way they are distributed. I talked a lot about how NFTs, by virtue of relying on it, on blockchain technology, help to create wider access or democratize access to value. That is going to happen a lot. There's also the distribution model part, which will change. All right. I recall that before the likes of the Netflix, Boomplay, and all of those apps started leveraging technology to enable artists and creators make money from streaming, right, and downloads. We used to have artists rely on those CDs that were sold in places like Computer Village or Inewi or Aba, and people just get to infringe on the copyrights of the producers. Now, in terms of distribution models, NFTs will help to create that new distribution, the new form of distributing content, as we already see in the space today. Although most NFTs out there are more like digital collectibles or digital arts, but increasingly, as this technology continues to evolve and its application in the entertainment sector deepens, what we'll find is that music, sound recordings, cinematograph works, and all of them will also be part of the digital assets that NFTs will be enabling. And this will happen in less than 5 years from now. So we have to pay attention to these business benefits, especially for creators and those who play in the entertainment industry. Of course, lawyers in the house too should be interested in this, because it will also impact on the shape that contract will be taken going forward. I talked here about the opportunity for mixed reality, world building experiences, deepening user engagements. If you're wondering what that is all about, guys like Disney World, guys like Lionsgate, these are studio, a big studio brands globally who are already leveraging things around NFTs and the metaverse to create a new platform for engaging fans or followers, a new way of creating income and all of that. Some of us might have seen in the news or read somewhere that MTN, of course, MTN is a very popular telecom company in Africa, recently bought, a land on the metaverse, right? That's an interesting stuff, if you ask me, because it might be that MTN is already looking at how NFTs and the metaverse, the world of virtual reality, would be able to open a new platform for engaging the young guys out there who are pretty big when it comes to gaming, pretty big when it comes to sports, entertainment, and all of that. So we have to pay attention to the metaverse as well. I always say in my lectures that without NFTs, there would not have been metaverse. The reason is that if you have metaverse without NFTs, all you will have is virtual reality. You will have artificial intelligence, but you will not be able to protect your digital property or assets. People will be able to easily duplicate anything on the metaverse without any implications or consequences. But with NFTs, what you're doing is saying, this is away from the world of the internet where you just duplicate everything and you get away with it. In the NFT world, everything is traceable, everything is transparent, as long as it is on the blockchain. Now, don't get me wrong. If you see an NFT work, and that work is some kind of a picture, you find that you are able to download it as a photo to your device. That doesn't mean that NFT has failed. That's not the idea of NFTs. There's no argument that you can download NFT images. But when you download them, you're not downloading them as NFT properties. You are downloading them as GIF or JPEG. Same thing, same old thing in the world we have right now. NFTs don't work like that. So you probably saw the pictures I shared earlier, the Beeple picture, clock pictures, and all of that. I downloaded them simply from an NFT platform. You can download, of course, but you don't own what you are downloading. If anyone is going to trace ownership, it's pretty easy to trace ownership on the blockchain using NFTs. I'm trying to move to the next slide, but it seems to be stuck. Okay, great. So I'll be rounding off now so that we can have time to interact before we call it a day, please. I've said a lot about this part already. Yes, so now let's come back to where I started. When we look at the digital assets or the assets generally that NFTs represent or cover, you see copyright works, and those include artistic works, broadcasts, cinematographic works, literary works, sound recordings. If you look closely, all of these, except maybe artistic works, and not so much of all of literary works, play in the entertainment industry. So we move to the next line, and we talk about online only and digital assets, such as digital works. Those two, when it comes to album photos, you have a music album or you have a movie, you always need to illustrate them with some kind of photo or picture. Those things too, you find that entertainment industry will be greatly impacted by the ability of NFTs to combine that unique feature of digital representation as well as smart contracts to ensure that whatever digital rights or assets you are bringing into the internet, right, they will all be well protected and then monetized, which is a very big part of NFTs. It's really about being able to trace the owner so that the owner can be entitled to what he or she is legally entitled to. That's the idea. The failure of the Internet 2.0 today is that it basically just created an electronic world for all of us, making the internet of communication available to us through Facebook, through email, through Zoom, stuff like this that we are doing right now. But the Internet 2.0 cannot take us to the next level, because if we continue to dig into Internet 2.0, all we will find is infringements everywhere. People will be able to easily duplicate anything they want. We can't do that if we are moving towards a virtual world. We're already moving very fast to a virtual world. In the virtual world, you will own, let me say something. In a virtual world, some years from now, everything that you own physically, whether personal property or real estate, will also have to be converted to a digital asset on the metaverse. I'll say that again. Everything you own right now, whether it's a personal property such as your phone maybe, or your shirts, and also real estate such as your houses or lands, they will need to be tokenized at some points so that they can also be digitally represented on the metaverse. So that is the world we're going to. Some people say that people are crazy. Why are you going to the metaverse to create all sort of rubbish? The truth is that this is the buzzword period. This is the time when people will do a lot of rubbish using NFTs. As we move towards the age of sense and away from the nonsense that prevail mainly in the NFT space today, you will find that everyone will need an NFT. Perhaps when Marx decides to move to the metaverse, Marx will need to ensure that Everlaw Associates, the building it owns right now, will also be digitally secured on the metaverse. Marx cannot do that without the power of NFTs. So let's not think that this is all for some crazy gamers, some young people who don't know what they are doing. Yes, those people are there. Some insane guys are on the metaverse. But I'm saying that at some point, even that 15-year-old young guy or that kid, 6-year-old, might need to be going to kindergarten on the metaverse. So it's something we need to be paying a lot of attention to. Until we do, we won't be able to get the best of this. I think that I will now round off based on that. To quickly recap, NFTs have a big role to play in the 3.0 internet that we are evolving into fast. Virtual reality, artificial intelligence, and other emerging technologies will not be the complete answer to what we need in terms of being able to be more transparent, more open, more secure, and more safe, and safer rather, about ownership of digital assets online. NFTs will help to do that, and blockchain plays a big role in that as well. As we move into the future, we should continue to learn about this stuff and see how we can leverage it for growth, leverage it for development as well. There are risks around this stuff. I didn't talk about that. I'm hoping that when it comes to the questions and answers sessions, perhaps the right questions will come in terms of the risk, inherent in the NFT world. Thank you very much. This has been Senator O'Hayan.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate this your session. Very, very interesting, I must say, because the way you actually explained it now, it seems in the long run, everything about technology and everything will be all about NFT. So thank you very much. Really appreciate that session. So I have a question for Senator from Vivian, I believe. Okay, so Vivian would like to know how one can go about minting NFT.
All right, Vivian, very good questions. I like them practical. When it comes to minting NFTs, it's really not so hard anymore. There are now NFT platforms available out there, including NFT platforms by even Nigerians who have created that place where anyone at all, you don't have to be an expert, can mint NFTs. How do you go about that? You have to, depending on what you want to do with it anyway, if you have a digital art or an artwork at all, once you have that artwork in a digital format, whether PNG, JPEG, GIF, any of those formats, you can go to a platform, an NFT platform, and upload it to that platform. Once you upload, you can convert by just a click of a button into NFT, just a click of a button. By converting that, you have minted that NFT, and all of the properties, what you technical guys call ERC codes and all of that will now be represented in that property, such as you being the creator of that work, the time you created it, the time it was minted, how much you want to sell it, the last time it was sold, how much it was sold, everything will be in there. I don't want to end up being an advertiser here, but if you can link up with me, maybe on LinkedIn after this call, I can share various links to various platforms where you can mint NFT. Good enough, one of our clients at Infusion Lawyers, Clip, is one of the number one, is marketed as number one NFT platform for African creators and mainstream artists. It's called Clip, clip.io. If you go to clipit.io, you'll find a place where you can easily mint NFT. But after now, you can talk about that. I hope that helps, Victoria. Yes, in terms of the slides, very well. I will be happy to share my slides with the organizers, Esquire and webinar. You will just bear with my slides if they are not too big on content. But I think this one is fairly good for a guide. It was just a 20-minute talk. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Yes, I don't know if other attendees have one or two questions before we round up the session. Any question from the house? Okay. So we want to appreciate the two speakers for today for your time and giving us more insights about the topic itself. We want to thank the first speaker, Mr. Max Combe, the principal partner at Ever Law Associates. And we also want to thank Senator Yeye. Thank you very much, sir, of Infusion Lawyers. Thank you so much for your time and for joining us for today's webinar.
It's always a pleasure.
Yes, sir. So also to the
Thank you.
attendees, we want to say thank you for taking out time to join us for today's webinar. We really appreciate your time, and we're not taking anyone for granted. We thank you, everybody. Then we won't be here if our wonderful sponsors are not supporting this program. So we want to say shout out or appreciation to our sponsors, African Law Practice. We also want to appreciate Bloomfield, Ever Law Associates, Advocates Law Practice, GOA, and Family Solicitors for sponsoring this webinar. It has been helpful so far, I must tell you. If you want to also see our past webinars, you want to tap on some knowledge from previous speakers and other topics that we've dealt with over time, you can go to our channel, our YouTube channel at My ESQ Lagos. You have access to the past webinar and even the one that we just finished today. So thank you everyone for your time once again. We want to appreciate you. You can also join us for the Thursday webinar. And like I said at the beginning of this webinar, I said that our webinar for weekly webinar always takes place Tuesdays and Thursdays, 3 p.m. both days. So if you like to be part of the Thursday webinar for 3 p.m., you can also join us this Thursday. Thank you very much, everyone. We appreciate you. You have a lovely afternoon. Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Mr. Marks. Take care of yourself.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Have a
bye.
wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you, Max. I'll catch you on the other side, perhaps from the metaverse.
Yes, Senator. Well done.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.